Hello friends, good morning to all of you, and today in this series we are going to start with the JAIIB 2023. So this is a complete new series in English language that we are going to start for JAIIB 2023, where we will be covering all the four papers of the JAIIB: Principles and Practices of Banking, Indian Economy and Indian Financial System, Accounting and Financial Management for the Bankers, and Retail Banking and the Wealth Management. So the new subjects basically which were introduced, those were retail banking and wealth management and Indian economy and Indian financial system. Some part of the AFB is retained in the form of AFM that we are going to start from today itself. Please do confirm the audio video quality at the earliest so that we can proceed. I'll also let you know the syllabus priority of the AFM, that is accounting and financial management for the bankers, and then we will be discussing the topics from the module D of the AFM, that is related to the taxation and fundamentals of the costings over there. So do confirm the audio video quality, and also do like the video and share the video among your friends and colleagues who have been preparing for JAIIB 2023. And अगर आपने अभी तक चैनल को सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया है, जल्दी से जल्दी सब्सक्राइब कर लीजिए. प्लीज डू सब्सक्राइब एट द अर्लीस्ट सो दैट यू विल बी रिसीविंग द नोटिफिकेशंस रिलेटेड टू द सेम ओवर देयर. The Telegram channel related to our JIIB is available. The link is available in the description box below. Do join over there. We will be discussing and sharing the questions of the videos that are being done on daily basis. So the audio video quality over here seems to be working quite fine. So let's start the session now. So it's related to the cost fundamentals. Okay, the related to cost fundamentals, the live class series that we are going to start from today itself, and we will be discussing the sessions related to JIIB in the morning from 7:30 a.m. onwards. Okay, so there will be daily live class for the JIIB in the morning at 7:30 a.m. and the classes will be from Monday to Saturday over there. Okay, so this is the first class. So let's start the session now. So first of all, it's related to the cost. Cost is basically what? It is the amount that you pay for a good or service or the resources over there. Let's say that we are having a company ABC over there, and company ABC is having a product. Let's say P1 is a product which is having a cost of rupees 100, and the company is having the margin of rupees 20 over that. The company is selling the product at rupees 120. So what will be the profit the company will be earning out of it? It will be rupees 20. That is a profit. And every company is having the organizational goals. Let's say they want to achieve their profits, they want to achieve their targets over there, they want to increase the profits. That is the basically demand for each and every company over there which is working in the private space as well as the public space over there. Okay, so as to increase the profit, the company is having two things. The first out of it is related to so as to increase the selling cost. Let's say they were selling previously the product at rupees 120. They increase the prices by rupees 20 itself. The new cost is rupees 140. They have basically increased the selling price of the product, and now they are earning the profit of rupees 40 over there against the previous one, that is rupees 20 over there. Now, it may always not be possible that the company is to increase the prices of their products over there, because they basically need to look into the different market conditions over there, at what price their competitors are selling the products and the different situations. They cannot just increase the prices as such. Okay, the other parameter they can work upon so as to reduce the cost. So the cost was rupees 100 over there, which was basically the input cost, we can say. Now they can reduce that input cost by different manners. Let's say they reduce the cost to rupees 80. Over there. Now the new cost is rupees 80, and further over that they are selling at the same price. That is rupees 120. Now also they are able to manage the margin of rupees 40 over there. So this is how it works. So the companies are to basically reduce their cost in such a manner that they will be having the maximum profit. Either way, they can increase the prices, or they can reduce the input cost so that they maximize their profit and can achieve the organizational goals over there. So this whole series, this whole module D is based upon what? It is based upon the cost fundamentals and the taxation over there. Over here, we are going to discuss the cost fundamentals. So we will be covering the different elements of the cost, what is the cost, costing, cost accounting, and cost accountancy. Each and every terms will be discussed in detail over there. Okay, so now let's have a look at the definition again. It says cost is the amount to be paid for a good or service. So whatsoever the good or service is to be rendered, amount is to be paid for those goods and services or the resources which is given in exchange for such good or service. So that is said to be what? That is said to be the cost of the product over there. So if I'm having a laptop, which is available for rupees 30,000, if the person is to pay rupees 30,000 for the laptop, that would be the cost of the laptop over there. Are you understanding this point? So cost is what? Cost is the amount which is paid by the user over there so as to basically get the product over there. So that is the cost. So if you are buying a car, let's say you purchased a car worth rupees 5 lakh over there, and somebody asks you that what amount, basically what was the cost of the car itself. So you'll be saying rupees 5 lakh. That is the cost of the car. That is the cost of the car over there. So that is related to what? That is related to the definition of the cost, that the amount paid or to be paid so as to acquire the product or services over there or the resources over there. That is said to be what? That is said to be the cost of the product over there. The second concept, it's related to the costing. It's related to the costing. So costing is what? There are different techniques and the processes by virtue of which basically you do what? We do ascertain the cost. We do ascertain what? We do ascertain the cost. Let's take the example of the same laptop over there. Let's say for the laptop, we were to basically gather the raw materials. So we paid for the raw materials over there, and also there were the engineers, there was the labor which worked upon these raw materials so as to get the finished product. Let's say that there was labor, and also there must be other expenses related to it. So whensoever the product is to be basically manufactured or the service is to be rendered, it may be the case that you are acquiring the raw material, it may be the case that you are acquiring the other raw material related to it, and it may be the cost of the labor also or of the engineers also, and also there may be other expenses. Now the other expenses include what? Like the electricity is there, that is also there, and you are basically having the stationery in the office, that is also a cost to you. So each and every cost is basically accumulated so as to basically ascertain the actual cost of the product over there. So it is basically related to raw material. At the first point, it's related to raw material cost. At the second point, you are having the labor cost. So whatsoever the workforce worked upon the product so as to get the finished product, so that is also the cost on the product itself. And also you must be having the other expenses. Let's say you are to pay the electricity bills, and you are to pay the taxes, and the other expenses are basically on the product itself, direct way or indirect manner. So that is also there. Okay, so when we will be adding all these three costs, we will be having the cost of the product. We'll be having what? We'll be having the cost of the product. So these are the techniques, basically do consist of the different principles and the rules. So there are the different rules, rules and different principles which we basically make use of so as to ascertain the cost of the product over there, which basically we will be having a procedure by virtue of which we will be basically ascertaining the raw material cost, we will be ascertaining the labor cost and other expenses cost over there. And when we basically aggregate these all, we will be having the cost of the product, and we call this particularly process by virtue of which we use a technique and we do ascertain the cost of the product. That is said to be what? That is said to be the costing. That is said to be the costing over there. Okay. So this definition was related to the costing over there. Now let's move further. It's related to the cost accounting. So cost accounting is what? Like the normal accounting. In case of normal accounting, what actually happens there? So whatsoever let's say the person basically A deposited, the person is started off a business with rupees 10,000. He started a new business with rupees 10,000. That was the capital which was basically infused into the business over there. So we basically kept a note of all the transactions related to the business over there. That was normal accounting over there. Now cost accounting is what? Where each and every expense related to the product, they will be basically recorded in the books of account. We will be examining those entries over there. We'll be summarizing those entries into the different accounts over there, so as to make the most out of the accounting, and so as to get an idea that on where different levels, on where different stages of the product we basically have spent the money. And then we will be studying all those things, that on what part we spent how much and how it can be reduced. So the main funda is related to it. We want to reduce the cost of the product. So as to maximize our profit over there. Let's say that you were producing a product, let's say P1, you were producing a product at rupees 100, as I gave you the previous example too. Okay, so you were previously having a cost of rupees 100 over there, but now you basically looked upon कि you are basically spending much more. You're spending much more on the raw material, which is quite expensive. Now you can go for the different vendors which may be providing you the raw materials at the lower cost. So this is the one of the point where you can reduce the cost. It may also be the case you may be finding some alternative by virtue of which you can reduce the cost. So that is possible only and only if you'll be having the different things related to it, on what particular stage or on what particular material you are basically spending more. So now the essence of the cost accounting is related to what, that there are different costs. You will be recording all those different costs. You'll be basically examining those costs over there. You'll be summarizing those costs into the different accounts over there. You'll be studying those costs so as to reduce those costs, and that is all the process of the cost accounting over there. So cost accounting is related to recording, examining, summarizing, and studying the company costs spent on any of the processes which is there in case of materializing a product, any of the service that you're rendering, or any of the other product or something else in the organization over there. So each and every cost is basically to be entered into the accounting books itself. Okay, so that is basically what, that is a cost accounting. And the fourth term, it's related to the cost accountancy. So accountancy itself is related to, it's a broader term, and basically it includes what? It includes different principles, rules and regulations, different methods and techniques which you are basically using for the costing purposes or cost accounting purposes. Okay, so I told you about the costing. Costing is basically a technique by virtue of which, it's a process by virtue of which basically you do ascertain the cost of the product over there. So whatsoever the different rules, methods or principles, techniques you use over there in the costing itself, and also the different principles, methods or processes you basically do use in case of cost accounting itself, those all rules, principles, methods are covered under what? Those all are covered under the cost accountancy over there. So it is a science and art. It is what? It is a science and art. Why it is science? Because we are having the different principles and rules related to it. And why it is art? Because we must be possessing some of the skills, so as to basically we must be knowing that how to use those techniques, how to use those principles in an optimum manner. And if you are having some of the experiences related to the same, then definitely you can do ascertain the cost, and you can also do the cost controlling itself. Okay, so that is basically related to what? That is related to the cost accountancy. So we learned that 4 different terms. First of all, it was related to the cost. That is whatever the amount that is paid for the product or services or the resources over there. That is a cost related to it. And the second one, it is related to costing, which is basically what? Which is a technique, and it's a process that how we do ascertain the cost of the product. And the third one, it's related to the cost accounting, which is related to that we do enter each and every expenses, we do summarize them, we do examine them, and further we do study the cost of the company. And it is a process. If any of the process it's related to, which is basically having a cost related to the product, any expense which is made on the product itself, that must be recorded so as to ascertain the actual cost of the product over there. That is related to cost accounting. I am repeating it again. Cost accountancy is what? It is a broader term. It's a broader term. So whatsoever the principles and methods and techniques which you are using in the costing and cost accounting, those all are covered under what? Those all are covered under the cost accountancy, by virtue of which you can reduce the cost of the product over there. Okay, now let's solve the questions based upon it, and I want you all to answer over here. First question, it says the price paid to acquire, produce, accomplish or maintain anything is known as what? Costing, revenue, cost, or none of the above. So which of the following would be the right answer in this regard? I want you to answer at the earliest. If you do basically do pay a price so as to acquire the product, accomplish or maintain anything, it is known as what? It is known as the cost of the product. So option C over here. So option C over here would be the right answer. Option C over here would be the right answer in this regard. Okay. So यहाँ पर abstention answer दिया है related to option C is the right answer. Now let's move to the next question. It says what refers to the techniques and processes of ascertain of the cost. So if you are to ascertain the cost, that process is said to be what? Cost accountancy, cost accounting, costing, and none of the above. So which of the following would be the right answer for question number 2 over here? So which of the following refers to the techniques and processes so as to ascertain the cost? So it is what? It is a costing. It is a costing, because costing was there na, where I just told you that we are having the different techniques so as to ascertain the cost of the product. So again, option C over here would be the right answer. Abstain has answered correctly over here. Again, related to question number 2, that is costing, would be the right answer in this regard. Now let's move to the third question. It says basic objectives of cost accounting is what? Basic objectives of cost accounting is what? Tax compliance, financial audit, cost ascertainment, and profit analysis. So cost accounting basic objective is what? Is it related to tax compliance? No, tax compliance is related to what? That whether the required taxes have been paid by you or not. Financial audit, it's related to that whatsoever the financial entries have been done and in manner they have been basically entered into the system, is it basically being maintained or not? The third, it's related to cost ascertainment. Yes, definitely the cost ascertainment would be the right answer. Cost ascertainment would be the right answer over there, where you basically do what? Why do basically having the cost accounting with you? I just told you cost accounting is related to what? It is basically related to entry related to the costing, examining those, summarizing those, and further related to what? You are basically examining, you're basically summarizing, and further you entry those entry expenses related to any of the product over there so as to cost ascertainment. So as for the cost ascertainment, so basic purpose of the cost accounting is also related to the cost ascertainment, but by process of what? By process of entering all the expenses related to the product over there. So option C over here again would be the right answer. Next question, it says cost accounting refers to the techniques and processes of ascertain of costs. This statement is true or false? Do answer me at the earliest. That the cost accounting, it says it refers to the techniques and processes so as to ascertain the cost. Is this statement true or false? Kindly please do answer with true or false so that I can get to know that if you have understood the concepts or not. Question number 4 over here. So cost accounting is basically what? Cost accounting is something different. It's related to, basically related to what? It's related to that we do enter the expenses, we do summarize them, we do examine them. That is basically the cost accounting. Na? The main essence of cost accounting is related to what? It is related to the same. Okay, so the statement is false over there. So the statement over here is false. So option B would be the right answer. Next question, it says cost accountancy is a science and art. This statement is true or false? Cost accountancy is a science and art. Accountancy is basically related to what? I told you it's a broader term. It's a broader term. It's related to the principles. It's related to the methods over there, which you basically must be using, for the purpose of the costing and cost accounting. So this statement is true. So this statement is true. Abstain has answered correctly over here related to question number 5. That option A is the right answer. Okay. Now the next is related to that we are having the different parameters in case of the cost over there. There are the different elements. Now these different elements are related to what? There, I just told you by way of example when we basically read about the costing itself, that in case of costing you may be having the different expenses. Those expenses may be related to the material, those expenses may be related to the labor, or there may be other expenses related to it. Okay, so elements of cost refers to those elements which constitute the the cost of manufacturer product. So whenever you manufacture a product, it's not like that you are just spending on the raw material. You are also to spend upon the labor or the workforce over there. You also to do another expenses which may be related to the building rent. It may be related to the electricity. It may be related to carriage inward. Okay, so those all expenses are also there. So these are the three elements of the cost. First, it is related to material. Second, it's related to labor, and the third one, it's related to the expense over there. So we will be discussing them in detail over here. So first of all, we are going to learn about the cost. I have already told you that what cost is. So whatever the amount which is paid for good or services or resources so as to acquire them, that is a cost. I already gave you an example that if you are acquiring the laptop for rupees 30,000, that will be the cost of the laptop itself. Okay, then it is related to material types. Now the material is having the two types. One we have having the direct material, the other one it is related to the indirect material over there. Now what do you mean by direct material? The direct material will basically be constituting that material that will be the part of the finished good. That will be the part of the finished good. Let's say that the company ABC over here is manufacturing the furniture. It's manufacturing furniture over there. Now they do require the raw material like wood, glue, nails, etc. Okay, they are basically requiring the wood, glue, nails, etc. over there. Okay, so what I'm not considering that whatsoever different materials are being required. I'm just giving you an idea related to it. Okay, so we are having the idea related to that. This would be the raw material that will be required. So this all raw material that I mentioned over here, it would be the part of the part of the final product. It will be the part of the final product. Now when the final product is ready, let's say they were manufacturing the chairs over there. Now would be if it was made out of wood, so wood would be there, the glue would be there, okay, and the nails will also be there. So these all three things would be the part of the final product. Now whatsoever the material which is the part of the final product, that is said to be what? That is said to be the direct material. That is said to be what? That is said to be the direct material over there. Okay, now what is indirect material? Now let's say if the chairs were being manufactured on some machine, if the chairs were being manufactured using some machine over there, and they required some of the another materials so as to for the maintenance of the machine. Let's say so as to lubricate the machine, they required the grease or they required the oil. Okay, so that will be what? That will be the indirect material. Why that will be the indirect material? Because these raw materials or these materials would not be the part of the final product. They will not be the part of the final product. Now when the chairs are being manufactured, after the manufacturing, would the grease would be visible or would be a part of the final product? No, it will not be the part of the final product. And also it may be the case that the safety products which were used by the workers during manufacturing of the products over there, they also will be what? They will also be the indirect material. Let's say the laborers were using the disposable gloves. They were using the disposable gloves. Now when they are using the disposable gloves so as to manufacture the goods, in that case, would those gloves be the part of the final product? No, those will not be the part of the final products over there. So that will also be what? That will also be the indirect material. In short, we can say whatsoever raw material that would be the part of the final product, that will be the direct material, and whatsoever the material which were used so as to manufacture the goods but they were not the part of the final product over there, that will basically said to be what? That those will be said to be the indirect material over there. Is that clear? Okay. Now let's move further. It's related to the labor types. Now we are having two types of labor. It's a direct labor and indirect labor. Now what do you mean by direct labor? The direct labor is basically the one which is basically directly engaged in manufacturing of the goods or rendering the services itself. Okay. So continuing with the previous example, let's say the manufacturing company is ABC and they are manufacturing the furniture over there, and particularly person P1, P2 and P3 were there. Person P1, P2, P3 were there. Okay, P1 and P2 are workers and P3 is the manager. P3 is the manager who is to manage that whether the P1 and P2 are working in the optimum level, whether the process is being maintained in the factory itself or not. Okay, so P1 is worker, P2 is worker, P3 is manager over there. Now, do let me know which persons out of these three are directly engaged in manufacturing the goods. Kindly please do answer that which persons over here were directly engaged in manufacturing the goods over there. Do answer at the earliest. It is P1 and P2. It is P1 and P2 who are directly engaged in manufacturing the goods. So P1 or P2 are what? P1 and P2 are direct labor. P1 and P2 are direct labor. Now P3, that is the manager, is not directly engaged in the manufacturing process itself. He is just scrutinizing the process, that if it is being followed in manner which is defined by the company rules or not. That is particularly why the P3 is there, that is manager is there. Okay, so that is that he will be indirect labor. He will be the indirect labor over there. Okay, so that was related to the labor types. Now let's move to the another point. It's related to expense types. Now also the expenses are of two types, like we are having the direct expenses or the indirect expenses. Now what do you mean by direct expenses? Now whatsoever the expenses which are directly being the part of the cost of the product, those will be related to what? Those will be the direct expenses. Those will be the direct expenses. Like we basically acquired the raw material. We basically paid to the workforce, the salaries, the wages were paid to the workforce over there. There was the expenses related to the carriage. There were the expenses related to the carriage. Let's say carriage inward it is. And also there was the rent which was paid. There was the electricity which was paid over there. Okay, now out of these, which of the following would be the direct expenses and which of the following would be the indirect expenses? Let me just explain to you. Now raw material cost, workforce salary or wages cost, carriage inward cost, these all will be what? These all will be the direct expenses. These all will be the direct expenses. Why these three are the direct expenses? Because these are directly related to the product itself. These are directly related to the manufacturing of the product itself. So these are the direct expenses. So these are the direct expenses over there. Like whatsoever the raw material are basically acquired, that is the expense that will be the made on the product itself. You have paid to the workforce so as to finish the goods, so as to get the finished good. So that is also the direct cost. And also carriage inward. Now what is carriage inward? There are two types of carriages. One, it is carriage inward, and the other one, it is a carriage outward. Now you need to understand the difference between the carriage inward and carriage outward, because carriage inward is the direct cost and carriage outward is the indirect cost. Okay, that is the indirect expense. Now let me just tell you, when you basically ordered for the raw material, the vendor said to you that he will not be basically sending you the raw material at their cost. You are to basically get the raw material at your place at your own cost. Okay, so that is the amount which is paid to the vendor so as to acquire the raw material for the transportation purposes. Whatsoever the amount was sent so as to acquire the raw material at your place, that will be basically related to what? That will be the carriage inward. Whereas in the case of the carriage outward, if you basically made a sale, you sold your finished good, and you're providing the services of transportation to your customer at your charge. Okay, so that is basically the amount that you paid for outward purposes. Okay, so that is the carriage outward. Okay, so carriage inward is the direct expense which is related to the product cost itself, but carriage outward is indirect expense. That is the indirect expense. You must be understanding that. Okay, then it is a rent amount which is paid. Okay, now do let me know that the rent amount, if it is paid for the factory where the product is being manufactured, would that be the direct expense or indirect expense? The factory rent where the product was being manufactured, if it is paid, it would be a direct expense or indirect expense. Kindly do answer me at the earliest. Jaldi se jaldi answer kar dijiye. Kindly do answer at the earliest. It would be the direct expense. But if the rent is being paid for some other purposes, let's say it was the administrative staff over there. it was the administrative staff over there or marketing team staff over there for which was for which the rent was paid. In that case, it will be the indirect expense. Same goes for the electricity. If you're paying the electricity bill for the plant where the product is being manufactured, it will be direct expense. But if you're paying the electricity bill for the building which is not directly related to the manufacturing process itself, it will be the indirect expense over there. Is that clear? Is that part clear over here? So this is all related to what? This is all related to direct expenses and indirect expenses. So you have learned much more about the direct expenses. Let me just quote one or two examples related to indirect expenses. Okay. So now you paid for advertising the product. You paid for advertising the product. So that will be direct cost or indirect cost. That will be the indirect expenses over there. You paid the taxes. That will be direct cost or indirect cost. That will be the indirect cost over there. Okay. So that is related to what? That is related to the direct expense and indirect expense over there. I hope that you must have understood the concept related to the same. Now let's solve the questions based upon these. So first question, it says, which of the following is a substance or mixture of substances that constitute an object? That constitute an object. Material, object, product, none of the above. Which of the following is a substance or mixture of substances that constitutes an object? Material, object, product, none of the above. So it will be material. Next question says, which of these is an example of direct material? Which of the following is example of direct material? Disposable gloves, personal protective equipment, plastic used to make toys, or none of the above. Kindly please do like the video at the earliest and also share the video among your friends and colleagues who have been preparing for JAIIB 2023. So direct material के बारे में बताना है. Direct material is related to what? Which is directly used for manufacturing of the product and which will be the part of the final product. Now disposable gloves were used. Now would those be the direct material? No, those will not be the direct material. So this is related to what? This is related to indirect material. Option B, it says personal protective equipment. This is also indirect material. Option C, plastic used to make the products. Now if the toys are being made out of plastic, that will be the part of the final product. So it will be the direct material. Option C over here would be the right answer. So Abstain and Manohar Hasde had answered correctly over here. Next question says, workers who is manufacturing good is known as what? Worker who is manufacturing good is known as what? Indirect labor, direct labor, manufacturer, or none of the above. Which of the following would be the right answer for question number 8 over here? Which of the following would be the right answer for question number 8 over here? It is the direct labor. So option B over here would be the right answer. Option B over here would be the right answer, that the person who is engaged directly in manufacturing the goods, that is a direct labor, and the person who is not engaged directly in the manufacturing of goods, that is a indirect labor. Over there. Option B would be the right answer. Next question, it says manager of the factory is known as management, direct labor, indirect labor, or worker. Management, direct labor, indirect labor, or worker. It will be option C, that is the indirect labor, because manager itself is not there so as to manufacture the goods itself. So it will be the indirect labor. So option C over there would be the right answer, and Manohar has answered over here at the earliest. Okay, so option C over here would be the right answer. Next question, it says question number 10, which of these is a direct expense? So we need to tell about the direct expense. Electricity, carriage inward, rent for sales department, none of the above. So which of the following would be a direct expense? So direct expenses are those which are directly made on manufacturing of goods. So carriage inward is the direct expense. Carriage inward over here is the direct expense in this case. So option B over here would be the right answer. Option B over here would be the right answer. Now the full course for JAIIB 2023 is available, and you can get this course, the full course videos, case study videos, chapter wise questions over there, mock test over there, complimentary access to the ePDF notes over there. In our premium course, you can join the course at flat 82% off. Use the coupon code NEW2023 and you need to visit that particular link so as to enroll into the course over there. We are already having the live class series for CAIIB and JAIIB in the morning. The CAIIB ABFM classes are conducted in the morning from 6:30 a.m. onwards, and the AFM live classes on daily basis will be conducted from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. basis onwards. Okay, so today it's the first session. I want you to enroll the courses right now and start preparing for the same, because after the live session this class will be removed and only will be available for the premium members. Okay, now the free PDFs are also available and the questions will also be available. You can join our Telegram channel. The link is on the screen itself. Do register now. It's totally free, 100% free over there. Do join right now and start preparing right away. Next, it's related to the costing and its types. Costing and its types. Now we know what costing is. Costing is basically related to the different techniques we basically use so as to ascertain the cost of the product over there. Now we'll be learning the different types of it. First of all, it's related to the fixed cost. Fixed cost. Now, when you're paying the rent for the building, when you're paying the rent of the building, let's say you are manufacturing 100 products a day and now you have increased your production to 200. You were previously paying a rent of rupees 20,000, but still you're paying the same rent because you have not hired a new space for the same. You are able to basically manufacture 100 and also 200 products under one space only. Okay, so the rent is basically fixed. The rent is fixed. So it will be what type of cost? It will be a fixed cost. It will be a fixed cost. Okay, so fixed cost is that particular cost that does not change or deviate with increase or decrease in the production. So whether there is increase in production, whether there is decrease in production, the fixed cost is not going to be changed. Okay, so that is what? That is a fixed cost, like rent which is paid and employee salary which you are paying. So if there is no increase in the salary itself and you are paying the same salary to the workers, in that case it will be also be a fixed cost. It will also be a fixed cost. Now the other cost type it is related to, which is contrary to the first one, fixed cost, that is a variable cost. Now the cost which is variable, let's say you are producing 100 units. You were producing 100 units a day, and for that particular purpose you were consuming raw material worth rupees 80. You were consuming raw material worth rupees 80 over there. Okay, and now you are producing 200 units. Now would the cost of the raw material will be the same? No, it basically went up to rupees 160. It doubled itself. Okay, so now you can see that with the change, with the increase or decrease in the production, the related cost is basically being altered. So in that case, it is said to be what? It is said to be the variable cost. Over there. And also, if we reduce the production, let's say if the production was reduced to 50 units, in that case, the raw material cost dropped to rupees 40. So when there is increase or decrease in the production, then the cost of the input cost is going to vary. That cost is said to be what? That cost is said to be the variable cost. And also in case of packing, when you're basically were producing 100 units only, in that case the packing cost must be lower one. But when you were producing 200 units, in that case the packing cost is going to be changed. Okay, so that is also the example of the variable cost. Next is related to semi-variable cost. Now semi-variable cost is somewhat related to, that is a composite cost. Or we can say it's a mixed cost. Cost over there, and also it is known as semi-fixed cost. Where somewhat up to some extent your cost is fixed. But if it goes beyond that particular point, in that case that is going to be altered. In that case it is going to be changed. That is what? That is a semi-variable cost. Now, have you ever gone through the electricity bills? Now let's say in case of electricity bill, it says that if you are consuming up to 1000 units of the electricity, the per unit charge would be rupees 7. But if you go beyond rupees 1000, if you go beyond rupees 1000 up to 2000 units, greater than 1000 up to 2000 units, in that case the charge will be 7.5 rupees per unit. The charge will be 7.5 rupees per unit. Okay, so this is said to be what, this is example of semi variable cost, where up to one extent you are having a fixed cost, but if you go beyond that particular point, it will be having a variable cost. Okay, so that is a semi variable cost, also named as semi fixed cost or a mixed cost. Next is related to controllable cost. Now controllable costs are those costs which are under your possession, which you can do control at your will. Okay, like let's say manager ABC is there, and the company was spending rupees 20 lakh on advertisement. Per month they were spending rupees 20 lakh on advertisement over there. Okay, no, it is at the will of the manager if they want to basically retain the same cost, or if they want to reduce the cost, or if they want to increase the advertising cost over there. Okay, because it is in the controlled position, it is under the controlled position that the manager can do alter the expenses on the advertising. Okay, and also if you're going to pay the bonuses to the employees over there, it is also at your will, na? That if you wish to pay the bonuses to the employees, it is at your will. Okay, so those are also controllable costs. Those are also said to be what? Those are also said to be the controllable costs. Next, it's related to the uncontrollable cost. Let's say you're manufacturing a product P1 and you are acquiring the raw material from the vendor. You are acquiring the raw material from the vendor V1 over there. Now, they increased the cost of the raw material. Previously, it was charged at rupees 1 per raw material, but now they are charging rupees 1.50 per raw material. And you're not able to basically find any of the vendors who will be providing you with the raw material at a lower cost. Will be providing you with the raw material at the lower cost over there. So you're basically having a particularly a dilemma that you are basically are to pay rupees 1.5 now, because that is not under your control now, because that cost is not under your control. So that is basically what, that is a uncontrollable cost. That is related to uncontrollable cost, because you are having no direct control over that cost. Okay. Next, it is related to opportunity cost. Very important. You must be understanding this particular point. We will be understanding this point by virtue of an example. So we're having the different projects, project A and project B. Okay. You were assuming a profit of rupees 800 from project A, and you were assuming a profit of rupees 700 from project B over there. Okay, so there was an assumption that you were assuming the profits out of these two projects over there. You were assuming rupees 800 out of project A and rupees 700 out of project B over there. Okay, but you undertook project A, where you were having a profit of rupees 800 over there. Now, what will be the opportunity cost of project A? It will be basically rupees 700. Why rupees 700? Because it is the amount. It is basically the profit that you have lost. It is a profit that you have lost when you have picked up the other alternative than that particular project. So you picked up project A instead of project B. So for project A, the opportunity cost will be the profit that you were assuming in the alternative project, that is a project B over there. So in project B, we were assuming a profit of 700. So the opportunity cost for project A over here would be the profit that you basically lost, that you could have earned in project B. Okay, so the opportunity cost for project A would be rupees 700. Okay. Then it is the operating cost. So operating cost is basically related to what? That when you have to basically have to maintain your operations, whatsoever the expenses are made for those purposes, those all are what? Those all are the operating cost. Like you're spending on stationery, you're spending on postage, those all are related to what? Those all are covered under the operating cost over there. And the operating cost, it can be variable, it can be fixed also. That basically depend upon the nature of the expense. Okay. And also we can define the cost as the direct cost or indirect cost. It may also be the case that you can define the cost as direct cost and indirect cost. We have already covered that what the direct cost is, and we have already covered what the indirect cost is. So if it is directly related to the manufacturing of the product, then it is a direct cost, a direct expense. And if it is not directly related to the manufacturing of the product itself, then it is an indirect expense. We have already covered. Now do let me know that carriage inward is part of the direct cost or the indirect cost. Carriage inward would be the part of the direct cost or the indirect cost over there. Kindly do answer at the earliest. Kindly do answer at the earliest. The carriage inward would be part of the direct cost, direct expenses, or the indirect expenses over there. These will be the part of the direct expenses. So Epstein has answered correctly over here. So that would be related to the theoretical part for this video. Now let's solve the questions here on. So we are having question number 11. It says, which of the following is not a type of cost? So we cover different types. We covered the fixed cost, variable cost, opportunity cost, controllable cost, uncontrollable cost. Was management cost covered over there? No, management cost was not covered over there because it's not a type of the cost. So option C over here would be the right answer, because we are to find that which of the following is not type of cost over there. So option C over here would be the right answer. Okay, so Epstein has answered correctly over here for question number 11. Now let's move to question number 12. It says, which of these is example of a fixed cost? Which of the following is the example of a fixed cost over here? Rent payment, interest payment, material cost, both A and B. So which of the following are examples of fixed cost? So when you're paying the rent, is it a fixed cost? Yes, it's a fixed cost that you're paying. Interest payment, the interest payment per month can be varying now. So it's not a fixed cost. It's not a fixed cost. Also, the material cost is basically variable. It can be variable. So if you're basically manufacturing more products, in that case the material cost would be much higher. If you're basically manufacturing lower, if you're having a lower production, in that case you'll be having a lower material cost. So it's also variable. So option A over here would be the right answer. Option A over here would be the right answer, because you are basically paying the rent payment. Interest payment is not fixed, because even if you are paying EMIs, even if you are paying the EMIs, in that case also the interest payment would be different. The interest payment would be different per month. So option A over here would be the right answer for question number 12 over here. Next question, it says, which of the following are the expenses associated with day-to-day business activities? Opportunity cost, operating cost, fixed cost, variable cost. The expenses which are to be basically made on day-to-day basis, those are said to be what? Those are said to be the operating expenses. That is particularly related to operating cost. That is related to operating cost over there. So option B over here would be the right answer. Option B over here would be the right answer. Option B is the right answer. Next question says, which of the following is a cost composed of mixture of both fixed and variable components? Fixed and variable cost, semi-variable cost, mixing cost, none of the above. Which of the following would be the right answer? Which is a cost composed of mixture of both fixed and variable components? It is a semi-fixed cost. It is a semi-fixed cost. We basically name it what? Mixing cost, or we name it basically what? It's a mixed cost or semi-variable cost, isn't it? When we covered the part related to the different components, if we are having the fixed cost and for the variable component, what it is said to be? It is said to be semi-fixed cost, not semi-variable cost. It's not semi-variable cost. It's a semi-fixed cost or mixed cost or mixed costing. Okay, so option C over here would be the right answer. Option C would be the right answer. Kindly please look into the options over there. We covered over there semi-fixed cost. Last question, it says, raw materials piece rate labor is known as what? Fixed cost, variable cost, semi-variable cost, none of the above. Which of the following would be the right answer for question number 15? Raw materials piece rate labor is known as what? Fixed cost, variable cost, semi-variable cost, or none of the above? It is variable cost. Why it is variable cost? Because you're paying the labor per piece. You're paying the labor per piece. So more the number of goods they will be manufacturing, more the amount you have to pay. more the amount you are to pay. So it will be the variable cost. So it will be the variable cost over here. So option B would be the right answer. Okay, so that would be all related to this video. I hope that you must have understood the concepts and you must have liked the video. So if you really like the video, do rate this video out of 10 and do like the video and do share the video among your friends and colleagues who have been preparing for JAIIB 2023. Do not forget to enroll yourself into the courses where you'll be getting the full course videos, case study videos, chapter wise questions, mock test and the complimentary access to the ePDF notes, and use the coupon new 2023 so as to get flat 82% off on the courses. Do enroll right now. The link is in the description, or you can download IIBF Learning Center application on the Google Play Store, and in App Store you can find our application in the name of My Institute and use the organization code GEJKT so as to enroll into the courses over there. So that will be all. Thank you so much and see you again in the next video tomorrow.